Her father sold her because she was different, but the cowboy saw something no one else did. Rowan Hale had learned to read trouble the way he read the sky. He could tell when a storm was coming long before the first wind hit the grass. That morning in Dry Hollow, trouble didn't arrive with thunder. It arrived with whispers. The trading post sat at the center of town, built from old ship plates and rough timber. Solar panels lined the roof, and a half-broken hollow sign flickered above the door. People stood around as if a show was about to begin. They weren't laughing. They were watching in the quiet way people watch something they don't want to be part of. Rowan leaned against a post across the street, arms loose at his sides, hat low. He had come into town for feed cartridges and a new coil for his fence generator. He planned to leave fast, but then he saw the girl. She stood beside a thin man who smelled of cheap liquor even from a distance. The man's shoulders were tense, his jaw working like he was chewing on anger. The girl's cloak was too big for her and the sleeves covered her hands. She kept her eyes on the ground like looking up might invite something sharp. The trader, old Mads, shook his head. "I don't do this," he said. "I sell gear, tools, not people." The thin man snapped. "Then call it a contract, work for food and a roof. I can't keep her." Rowan's eyes narrowed. He crossed the street and stopped at the edge of the crowd. Nobody blocked him. Folks moved aside as if he had a quiet weight that made space. Rowan looked at the man. "That your daughter?" The man's face twisted. "Yeah, and she's trouble." Rowan shifted his gaze to the girl. "What's your name?" For a moment she didn't answer. Then in a small voice she said, "Lyra." Rowan noticed the way the air around her felt. Odd, not cold, not hot, more like the faint hum you heard near a running engine. The metal door behind Rowan gave a tiny buzz and the keypad lights flickered once like they had blinked. The crowd reacted with a soft wave of unease. Someone whispered, "See, that's what she does." Lyra's shoulders tightened like she expected to be hit by the words. Rowan kept his voice even. "What's different about her?" The father rubbed his hands together. "She breaks things. Machines act wrong around her. Folks get scared. I get blamed. I'm done with it." Old Mads spat dust to the side. "That ain't a reason to throw away your kid." The father snapped. "You take her then." Mads lifted both palms. "No. I got a shop to run in a town that already hates me half the time." Rowan watched the father carefully. "You ever try moving away, getting help?" The man's laugh was bitter. "Help from who? This colony's got no doctors for weird, and I don't have credits." "I got debts." He looked at Lyra like she was a heavy bag he'd carried too far. "She's a problem I can't afford." Rowan felt a tightness behind his ribs. He'd seen hard men, he'd seen desperate men, but this wasn't desperation. This was the ugly kind of relief that comes when someone chooses the easy road. Rowan stepped closer to Lyra. "Look at me," he said softly. Lyra hesitated, then lifted her head. Her eyes were clear, gray-blue, and tired in a way no kid should be. She didn't look dangerous. She looked like someone who had learned to shrink to survive. Rowan asked, "Did you choose this?" Her lips parted. No sound came out at first. Then she whispered, "No." Rowan nodded as if he had expected that answer. He turned to the father. "What are you asking for?" The man swallowed. "I'm not proud, but I need something. I got loans, fuel, food. If she leaves, I can breathe again." Rowan's jaw set. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small pouch of credits, hard chips, not paper. "This covers your debts for a while," he said, and tossed it to the father. The father caught it quickly, eyes bright with greed. "That's it, she's yours." Rowan's voice sharpened. "She's not a thing." The father flinched like a dog hearing a whip crack. "Fine. She's your responsibility. Happy?" Rowan stepped between the man and Lyra, blocking her from the father's stare. "Go," Rowan said. The father didn't argue. He backed away, then walked fast down the street, already forgetting the face of the girl behind him. Lyra watched him leave. She didn't cry. That hurt more than tears would have. It meant she had already run out of hope. Rowan glanced at Mads. "I'll pay for my supplies later." Mads grunted, not unfriendly. "Hale, you sure?" Rowan looked at Lyra again. The keypad lights on the door steadied now, no longer flickering. "Yeah," Rowan said, "I'm sure." He turned to her. "You know how to ride?" Lyra nodded. "A little." "You hungry?" She nodded again, smaller. Rowan lifted his chin toward the road. "My ranch is outside town." "We'll go slow. You can tell me what you want when you're ready." Lyra's eyes widened, confused. "What I want?" Rowan held her gaze. "Yeah, you're not a package, you're a person." That was the first time anyone had spoken to her like that, and it showed in her face. She didn't smile, not yet, but something in her shoulders loosened. They left Dry Hollow as the sun leaned toward noon. The road ran through open plains, where dry grass waved like the surface of a quiet sea. Solar towers stood far apart like tall metal trees. A few old windmills turned slowly, feeding power into buried lines that hummed under the soil. A small delivery drone buzzed overhead. As it passed above them, its lights blinked rapidly, and it wobbled for a second before stabilizing. Lyra stiffened. She clasped her hands tighter. "I didn't," Rowan raised one hand gently. "I saw it," he said, "but I don't think you wanted it to happen." Lyra swallowed. "It happens when I get scared or when I'm upset. I try to be quiet so things don't break," Rowan finished. She nodded, eyes shining with shame. Rowan kept walking. "My ranch uses old and new tech. Some of it is stubborn, but it's mine, and I fix what breaks." Lyra looked at him carefully. "You're not afraid?" Rowan's lips twitched as if he almost smiled. "I'm a little careful," he admitted, "but fear doesn't help anyone." They reached his ranch by late afternoon. It sat in a wide bowl of land, fenced with a mix of wire and energy posts. A herd of cattle grazed in one field, and in another field, robotic stock guards moved slowly, scanning the horizon. The house was built from reclaimed ship metal and local stone. It was simple, strong, and clean. Rowan led her to the porch. "This is home," he said. Lyra paused at the first step like the wood might vanish under her feet. "For you. For now," Rowan corrected gently. "For you too, if you want it." He opened the door and let her enter first, a small act that told her she wasn't a prisoner. Inside, warm light filled the room. The air smelled like cedar and cooked beans. A battered radio sat on a shelf and tools hung neatly on the wall. Everything looked used but cared for. Rowan set his hat down. "Sit wherever you like." Lyra moved slowly, then chose a chair by the table. She sat with her back straight like she was bracing for rules. Rowan pulled out a pot and started making food. He moved calmly, as if the world made sense when he worked with his hands. When he turned on the old cooking unit, the display flickered. Lyra flinched. Rowan glanced at it, then at her. "You okay?" She nodded quickly. "It's my fault." Rowan shook his head. "Not yet. Maybe the unit's old. Maybe my wiring's bad. We don't blame you for everything here." Lyra's throat bobbed. She stared at the table as if she didn't trust her own face. They ate in quiet. The food was simple, but it was warm, and it filled the hollow space in her stomach. Afterward, Rowan poured water into 2 cups and sat across from her. "Tell me about the different part," he said, gentle but direct. "Only what you want." Lyra hesitated, then pulled her sleeves back just enough to show her wrist. Under her skin, faint lines shimmered, like tiny silver threads woven into her veins. They weren't scars. They looked like something placed there on purpose. Rowan's eyes narrowed, not with fear, but with focus. "That's not natural." Lyra's voice dropped. "I don't remember when it happened. My father said I got sick as a kid, then I got better. After that, machines started acting strange around me." Rowan leaned forward slightly. "Did anyone ever come looking for you?" Lyra shook her head. "No, just people staring, people whispering, people backing away." Rowan looked at the faint silver lines again. He had seen tech like this before, years ago, when he worked cattle routes near the old crash site outside the colony capital. He remembered broken ship pieces half buried in sand, and men with clean boots who didn't talk much. He didn't want to scare her, so he kept his face calm. "All right," he said. "Here's the deal. You can stay. You'll help with chores if you can. You'll learn at your pace. And if you ever want to leave, you tell me and I'll help you do it safe." Lyra's eyes lifted. "You'd let me leave?" Rowan nodded. "It's your life." For a second, she looked like she might cry. Then she blinked hard and whispered, "Thank you." Outside, night came fast. The stars brightened, sharp and countless. The ranch felt far from Dry Hollow and its cold looks. For the first time in a long while, Lyra slept without holding her breath. But Rowan did not sleep. He sat on the porch with his rifle across his knees, listening to the quiet. He watched the fence lights, the distant hills, the slow drift of moons. And then near midnight, his comm unit crackled with a weak signal, one he hadn't heard in years. A coded transmission, old colony security style. Rowan's eyes narrowed as the message repeated, broken and urgent. "Asset identified, silver thread subject, retrieval team en route, do not engage." Rowan looked toward the dark house behind him. Lyra wasn't just different, she was wanted. And by morning, the plains around his ranch might fill with strangers who didn't care about mercy, only ownership. Rowan rose slowly, jaw tight. He wasn't going to let anyone take her. Rowan did not sleep that night. The coded message echoed in his mind again and again. "Asset identified, retrieval team en route." The words felt cold like metal against skin. He sat on the porch with the wide plains stretching before him, silent except for the wind brushing the grass. He had lived long enough to know what retrieval team meant. It meant people who believed they owned something. It meant no questions, no kindness. And now they were coming for Lyra. Rowan stood slowly and walked around the ranch, checking every fence post and scanning the horizon with a small handheld scope. The energy fence hummed softly. His robotic stock guards moved in slow patrol patterns, unaware that their peaceful routine might soon turn into defense. The stars began to fade as dawn crept across the sky. Rowan finally went inside. Lyra was already awake. She sat at the kitchen table holding a cup of water with both hands. Her eyes looked tired but alert, like she had sensed something was wrong. "You didn't sleep," she said quietly. Rowan shrugged lightly. "Old habit." She watched him carefully. "Something happened." Rowan paused. He had planned to keep the message to himself for a while, but he could see she deserved honesty. "I got a signal last night," he said. "Someone might be looking for you." Lyra's fingers tightened around the cup. "Looking how?" "Not friendly," Rowan answered gently. She lowered her gaze, fear creeping into her expression. "I told you I caused trouble." Rowan shook his head firmly. "No, trouble comes because of people's choices, not because of who you are." She swallowed hard but nodded slowly. Rowan moved to the cooking unit and started making breakfast. The quiet sounds of chopping and sizzling filled the room, grounding the moment. After a while, he spoke again. "We'll prepare. That's all, no panic." Lyra hesitated. "If they come, maybe I should leave." Rowan turned to face her. "Running alone is dangerous. Staying together gives us a chance." She searched his face as if trying to understand why he cared so much. "You barely know me." He gave a small smile. "Sometimes that's enough." After breakfast, Rowan showed her the ranch. He believed knowledge gave strength. He explained how the solar towers stored energy, how the fence worked, how the robotic guards detected movement. Lyra listened closely. She learned fast, asking careful questions. As they walked past a maintenance panel, the lights flickered again. Lyra froze. "I'm sorry," she said quickly. Rowan studied the panel. Instead of shutting down like before, the system adjusted itself. The lights steadied and glowed brighter than usual. "That's new," Rowan said. Lyra blinked. "What?" "It didn't break," he explained. "It adapted." She stared at the panel like it had betrayed her expectations. "Things usually fail," Rowan nodded slowly. "Maybe they're learning from you instead." The idea surprised her. She had never thought of her ability as something positive. They continued working through the morning. Rowan taught her how to check water levels for the livestock and how to guide the robotic cattle using a handheld signal device. At first she moved carefully, afraid to touch anything, but little by little her confidence grew. The ranch felt less like a strange place and more like a space where she belonged. But Rowan never stopped watching the horizon. By midday, a thin cloud of dust appeared far away. Rowan's body stiffened. "Inside," he said quietly. Lyra followed him to the porch. She squinted toward the distance. 3 small shapes moved across the plains, vehicles low and fast, kicking up dust. "They found me," she whispered. Rowan rested a hand on the railing. "Looks like it." Fear tightened her voice. "They'll take me." Rowan shook his head slowly. "Not without talking to me first." The vehicles approached and slowed near the fence line. They were sleek, black, and unfamiliar, not local designs. Armed figures stepped out, wearing gray coats with thin armor plates. One man walked forward. He removed his helmet, revealing a clean face and cold eyes. "Rowan Hale," the man said calmly. "We request access." Rowan didn't open the gate. "Depends on the request." The man smiled slightly. "We are here for the girl. She is property of our organization." Lyra flinched at the word property. Rowan's voice stayed steady. "You got proof?" The man tapped a small device. A holographic document appeared, full of codes and official-looking seals. "She was part of an experimental program," he said. "Her father signed consent. She belongs to us." Lyra shook her head slowly. "I don't remember." "That is normal," the man replied smoothly. "Memory adjustments were part of the procedure." Rowan stepped forward, blocking their view of her. "She's not leaving." The man's smile faded. "You misunderstand. We are not asking." Silence stretched between them, heavy as thunder before rain. Rowan rested one hand near his sidearm but did not draw it. "You step inside my fence without permission, that's trespassing." The man sighed as if disappointed. "We hope to avoid conflict." Behind him, the other agents shifted slightly, hands near their weapons. Lyra felt panic rising. The air around her seemed to hum. The fence lights flickered brighter. "Rowan," she whispered, "something happening." He glanced back briefly. "Stay calm." The man noticed the flickering lights, his eyes sharpened with interest. "Yes," he said quietly, "the signal amplification is stronger now. She is evolving." Lyra's breath quickened. The humming grew louder. Nearby machines vibrated softly. Rowan turned fully toward her. "Look at me," he said gently. "Breathe slow." She tried. The humming steadied. The agents watched like scientists observing an experiment. "That power belongs to us," the leader said. "We created it." Rowan's expression hardened. "Then you shouldn't have thrown it away." The man's jaw tightened. "Final warning, open the gate." Rowan shook his head. The leader nodded to his team. One agent stepped forward, activating a small device aimed at the fence. Energy sparked against the barrier. At that moment, something unexpected happened. Instead of weakening, the fence surged brighter, stronger, responding to Lyra's presence. Energy flowed through the posts like living light. The agent stumbled back. The leader stared, fascinated. "Incredible," he murmured. Lyra felt the energy rushing through her, but it didn't hurt. It felt like warmth spreading through her veins. Rowan looked at her with quiet awe. "You're not breaking things," he said softly. "You're connecting with them." The realization settled into her slowly. For the first time, she felt less like a mistake. The leader's voice cut through the moment. "Enough, we will return with stronger equipment." He signaled his team. They retreated toward their vehicles, but his eyes remained fixed on Lyra. "You cannot hide forever," he said. The vehicles drove away, leaving only dust behind. Lyra's knees shook. Rowan guided her to sit on the porch steps. "They'll come back," she said. "Yes," Rowan answered honestly. Fear filled her voice. "Then I should leave before they hurt you." Rowan sat beside her. "You're not a burden, Lyra, and you're not alone anymore." She stared at the horizon where the vehicles had disappeared. The sun dipped lower, casting long golden light across the fields. For the first time, she didn't feel like prey. She felt like someone worth protecting. But Rowan knew the next time those strangers returned, they wouldn't come just to talk. And he also knew something else. Lyra's power was growing, and neither of them yet understood how strong it could become. The plains stayed quiet after the black vehicles disappeared, but Rowan knew silence did not mean safety. It meant preparation. Somewhere beyond the hills, those people were planning their next move. Lyra sat on the porch steps long after the dust settled. Her hands rested on her knees, but they trembled slightly. The energy fence glowed brighter than before, humming softly like it was alive. "I didn't mean to do that," she said quietly. Rowan leaned against the railing beside her. "You didn't hurt anyone," he replied. "That matters." "But I changed it," she said. "The fence, it listened to me." Rowan nodded slowly. "Yeah, and maybe that's not a bad thing." Lyra turned toward him. "You're not scared," he thought for a moment. "I respect what I don't understand. That's different from fear." Her shoulders relaxed a little. Rowan stood up and stretched his back. "We got work to do," he said. "If they're coming back, we need to be ready." Lyra followed him into the yard. The ranch looked peaceful, cattle grazing, robotic guards moving slowly, wind pushing through tall grass. But Rowan's movements were sharper now, more focused. He checked the fence control panel again. The energy flow had changed, forming patterns he had never seen before. "You did this?" he asked gently. "I don't know how," she admitted. "It feels like the machines are talking, not with words, just feelings." Rowan studied her face. She looked confused but curious too. "Then maybe we listen back," he said. He handed her a small maintenance tool. "Try touching the panel slowly." Lyra hesitated. For years she had avoided touching machines because they broke. Now Rowan was asking her to do the opposite. She reached out carefully. The moment her fingers brushed the metal, the lights shifted color. Soft blue lines moved across the panel like flowing water. Rowan watched closely. Nothing burned out, nothing failed. Instead, the system stabilized. Lyra's eyes widened. "It's calm," Rowan smiled faintly. "Looks like you're helping it." A small laugh escaped her, surprised and unsure. It was the first time she had laughed since arriving at the ranch. They spent the afternoon adjusting systems together. Rowan explained each part while Lyra experimented gently. The robotic guards responded faster when she stood nearby. The old radio picked up clearer signals. Even the water pumps ran smoother. Each success changed something inside her. The fear she carried began to fade, replaced by cautious confidence. As the sun lowered toward evening, Rowan prepared for the worst. He set up motion sensors along the outer hills and moved supplies into safer positions. He showed Lyra where to go if things became dangerous, a reinforced storage room beneath the house. "I don't want to hide," she said softly. "I know," Rowan replied, "but having a plan isn't weakness." She nodded. Night arrived with cool air and bright stars. Rowan lit a small lantern on the porch while they ate dinner together. "Can I ask you something?" Lyra said after a while. "Sure." "Why do you stay out here alone?" Rowan looked toward the horizon before answering. "I wasn't always alone," he said quietly. "Lost people. Lost things. Out here it's simpler." Lyra didn't ask more. She understood enough to know pain when she heard it. The calm did not last long. Near midnight, the motion sensors triggered. A sharp beep sounded from Rowan's wrist device. He stood immediately. "Inside," he said. Lyra followed him to the window. In the distance, faint lights moved across the plains more than before. "They came back," she whispered. Rowan nodded. "And they brought friends." 3 vehicles approached again, but this time drones hovered above them like silent birds. Blue searchlights scanned the land. Rowan activated the fence's higher setting. Energy crackled softly along the posts. The vehicles stopped outside the barrier. The same leader stepped forward, but now he wore heavier armor. "We warned you," he called out. "Stand down." Rowan stayed on the porch. "You got your answer earlier." The man sighed as if tired of repeating himself. "You cannot protect her forever." Lyra stepped beside Rowan. Her fear returned, but she refused to hide. "I'm not going with you," she said, voice shaking but firm. The leader studied her carefully. "You were created for a purpose," he said. "Your abilities belong to science. You belong to progress." "I belong to myself," she answered. The leader's expression hardened. He raised a hand, and one of the drones moved forward, projecting a pulse of energy toward the fence. The barrier flared bright. Lyra felt a sudden pull inside her, like a tide rising. The machines around her reacted instantly. Lights surged. The energy fence strengthened, pushing the drone back. Rowan glanced at her. "You're doing it again." "I can't stop it," she whispered. "Then don't," he said gently. "Just guide it." She focused, breathing slowly. The humming steadied. The agents tried again, sending stronger pulses, but each time the fence adapted, not randomly, but intelligently. The leader stared, fascinated and frustrated. "Her synchronization is increasing," he muttered. Rowan raised his voice. "Leave now." Instead, the leader nodded to another agent. A larger machine rolled forward, a heavy cutter designed to break barriers. Fear flashed across Lyra's face. "They're going to break through." Rowan stepped closer to her. "Listen to me. The machines trust you. Trust yourself back." She closed her eyes. The humming grew louder, but instead of chaos, she felt patterns, lines of energy connecting everything. The fence, the drones, the house systems, even Rowan's comm unit. She reached toward the fence controls without touching them. The energy barrier shifted, forming layered waves. When the cutter fired, the energy dispersed harmlessly across the surface. The agent stepped back, shocked. Rowan let out a quiet breath. "That's it." Lyra opened her eyes slowly. She wasn't scared anymore. She felt strong. The leader lowered his head slightly, thinking. "This changes things," he said. "You are far more advanced than expected." He turned to Rowan. "Enjoy your victory tonight. We will return with authority you cannot resist." The vehicles retreated once again, disappearing into the darkness. Silence returned. Lyra's strength faded suddenly and she swayed. Rowan caught her before she fell. "You okay?" "I'm just tired," she whispered. He helped her sit down. "You did good," he said gently. She looked at her hands, amazed and unsure. "I didn't break anything." "No," Rowan said. "You protected it." She leaned back against the porch wall, staring at the stars. For the first time, she didn't feel like something broken or strange. She felt powerful. But Rowan knew the fight wasn't over. If those people returned with greater force, defending the ranch might not be enough. And somewhere deep inside, Lyra sensed something else too, a memory trying to surface. Something from before she was brought here, something that might change everything they thought they knew. The night grew quiet again, but both of them understood the next confrontation would decide more than just where Lyra lived. It would decide who she truly was. The night after the second attack felt heavier than before. The ranch was quiet, but it was not peaceful. Rowan sat at the kitchen table, cleaning his rifle slowly, checking every part with careful hands. Lyra watched from across the room, wrapped in a blanket, her eyes thoughtful and distant. Neither of them spoke for a long time. Finally, Lyra broke the silence. "They said I was created," she said softly. "What if they're right?" Rowan paused but did not look up immediately. People say many things to make control sound like truth, he answered. But what if I'm not normal? She whispered. Rowan set the rifle aside and met her gaze. Normal is just a word people use when they're scared of change. She considered that quietly. Outside, the wind picked up, moving through the grass like waves across water. The fence lights glowed steady, stronger than ever since Lyra connected with them. Rowan leaned forward. Listen to me. Whatever you are, you choose who you become, not them. Lyra nodded slowly, but doubt still lingered. They slept only a few hours before dawn arrived. The sky turned pale gold and birds crossed the horizon. For a moment, everything looked calm again. Then Rowan's comm device buzzed sharply. He picked it up and frowned. A large signal approached, not just a few vehicles this time, but a full convoy. They're coming back, he said quietly. Lyra stood immediately. Fear rose inside her, but it was different now. It did not freeze her, it pushed her forward. What do we do? Rowan looked toward the hills. We stand our ground. Within minutes, dust clouds appeared in the distance. Multiple vehicles moved in formation. Drones hovered above them like dark stars. This time they did not stop far away. They drove straight toward the fence. Rowan walked out onto the porch, Lyra beside him. The convoy halted just beyond the barrier. More agents stepped out, armed and organized. At their center stood the same leader, calm as ever. You continue to resist, he said loudly. This ends today. Rowan crossed his arms. Then make it quick. The leader activated a holographic projection. Images filled the air, old lab rooms, glowing machines, and a small child lying on a table surrounded by scientists. Lyra gasped. That's me, she whispered. The leader nodded. You were part of Project Silver Thread. Your body was enhanced to connect with advanced technology. You are valuable beyond measure. Lyra's heart pounded. The images felt both familiar and distant. You were abandoned because your synchronization levels were unstable, he continued. But now you have matured, you must return with us. Rowan stepped forward slightly. She said no. The leader's voice hardened. Consent is irrelevant. She is our creation. Something inside Lyra snapped at those words. The fear turned into anger. I'm not yours, she said firmly. The leader sighed. Very well. He raised his hand. Heavy machines rolled forward, larger cutters, energy disruptors designed to break defenses. Drones moved into attack positions. Rowan's hand moved toward his sidearm, but he knew fighting them directly would be impossible. Lyra felt the hum inside her grow stronger. The machines around her seemed louder, clearer, like voices calling her. She closed her eyes. Rowan, she whispered, I think I understand now. He glanced at her. Understand what? I'm not breaking machines, she said. I'm helping them become better. The first attack began. Energy blasts hit the fence. The barrier flared bright, shaking under the impact. Dust flew into the air. Lyra stepped forward, focusing on the energy flow. She felt the systems responding, waiting for guidance. The fence changed shape, forming layered shields that absorbed the attack. The drones struggled to adjust. The agents fired again. Lyra reached deeper, connecting with every device around her. The fence, the robotic guards, even the attackers' machines. She felt their signals like threads in a web. Rowan watched in amazement as the robotic stock guards repositioned automatically, blocking weak points. The ranch lights brightened, feeding more energy into the barrier. The attackers hesitated. The leader's eyes widened slightly. Her synchronization has reached peak levels. He signaled for full assault. More machines activated. A massive energy pulse struck the fence, cracking the ground. Lyra gasped, nearly losing balance. Rowan stepped closer. You don't have to hold everything alone. She nodded, breathing slowly. Instead of pushing against the attack, she changed her approach. She reached toward the attacking machines themselves. For a moment, nothing happened. Then one drone flickered. Another paused midair. The energy disruptor lost power suddenly. The agents stared in confusion as their equipment shut down one by one, not destroyed, just disconnected. Lyra opened her eyes. She realized she could communicate with the machines, not just defend against them. They're listening, she said softly. The battlefield fell quiet. The leader looked shocked for the first time. You've surpassed our expectations, he said. You could reshape entire systems. Lyra shook her head. No, I just want to live. He studied her for a long moment. Finally, he lowered his weapon. You could change worlds, he said quietly. And you choose a small ranch. She looked at Rowan, then back at him. I choose freedom. Silence stretched between them. Slowly, the leader sighed. Force will not work against you now. Your control is too advanced. He signaled his team. Stand down. The agents hesitated but obeyed. The leader met Rowan's eyes. Protect her well, others will seek her power. Rowan nodded once. They'll get the same answer. The convoy withdrew slowly, leaving the plains empty once more. When the last vehicle disappeared, Lyra's strength faded. Rowan caught her gently as she leaned against him. You did it, he said quietly. She smiled faintly. We did it. They sat together on the porch as the sun rose higher. The ranch looked the same as before, but everything felt different. Lyra no longer felt like something unwanted or strange. She understood her abilities now not as a curse, but as a gift. Rowan looked at her. So what happens next? She watched the horizon thoughtfully. I learn who I am, she said, and maybe help things grow instead of breaking. Rowan smiled. The wind moved through the grass, peaceful again. The future was uncertain, but for the first time, Lyra felt ready to face it, not as someone owned or abandoned, but as someone free to choose her own path.